Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah, and in this video I want to share my thoughts on why getting the newest iPhone every single time it comes out, which is yearly, might not be the best option for you. As always, I hope you can take something away from this video, and with that being said, let's get right into it. So before I pull up Excel, as I always do, a little bit of background behind the making of this video. So if you guys aren't aware, the newest version, the iPhone 16, was recently released to the public on 9/20/2024 for a price of $799. And it really got me thinking as to, how iPhones have really changed. I personally have a iPhone, an X, right? So this is the first model where they did the full screen, right, all the way to the corners for the most part, and I just haven't gotten a new one, right? So over the last years, since then, quite a few years, there's been a lot of iPhones, and I got to the point where I was wondering, am I that behind from everybody else, right? I have not purchased a new iPhone since this one, and this one was about $1,000 but when it came out, and they're a little bit cheaper now. But I wanted to see, what else could be done with that money that a lot of individuals spend to get the newest iPhone on a yearly basis. And certainly not everybody gets a new iPhone, every single year, but there are some really hardcore Apple fans, right, that need the newest iPhone when it comes out, and they're more than willing to pay it, every single year about the same time during September or October, which have been the release months for iPhones for some time. Okay, so here we are in Excel. Finally, I know everybody's been waiting for me to pull up Excel, but here's what we're kind of looking at here. So, like I said, I wanted to see what else people could do or maybe should be doing with their money other than trying to upgrade to the newest tech, right? Upgrade to the newest iPhone to have a different color or have a different camera or have another camera or, be able to track your blood pressure, whatever it may be. So I set up a little bit of an example here, starting left to right. We have the year basically of when the iPhone was released, not too relevant, but I wanted to include it there anyways. The day each iPhone was released, the model number, in my case, the iPhone X is where I started. It wasn't my first iPhone, but for this example, I wanted to use the iPhone X. The release price, right? So at the time of release, how much are these phones being advertised to the public, right? And then, of course, I wanted to put something as a comparison, right? When we're looking at what else we could be doing with our money. So I went with a very old, reliable investment opportunity, which is just investing in the S&P 500, basically the 500 largest companies here in the United States. It's a very solid investment. You don't need that much background, if any at all, to begin investing in it, and the returns are very solid. The returns have been very consistent since its inception back in like the 50s, I think. And of course, we need to see, what this balance might be, right? So in this example, instead of purchasing every single iPhone, the newest ones when they come out, we're putting that money that would be spent on the iPhone into a portfolio, right? And only buying shares of the S&P 500. And that's where we will track our balance, essentially, to see how much we're going to have at the time of now, basically, where the newest iPhone, the iPhone 16, came out. So before I expose all of the other details here, I want to kind of go over the first example, right? It's highlighted because this is where I started, right, on my iPhone journey for the most part, 2017. Like I said, the asking price was $1,000. This year, right, throughout 2017, the S&P 500 actually did really well, right? They returned over 20%, almost 22%. But this year, the reason the investment balance is zero is because I didn't invest, right? I wish I would have, but I purchased the iPhone instead, right? So this example is only tracking the balance if you were to only invest the money that you would have put into purchasing the iPhone. So the second example, 2018, it's when the XS came out. I think that's when they started adding candy-like colors and stuff like that, released for the same price. But This year, the S&P 500 didn't do so well, right? 2018, I wasn't too involved with investing at the time, but overall for the year, it was down, right? Minus 5% almost. So if I would have used this $999 at the beginning of the year instead of opting to purchase this iPhone, that balance would have been 955, right? And I know you're probably thinking, hey, that shit, right? I lost money, right? I should have just bought the iPhone. And that might be something that you consider. But when I expose more of the data up until now, I think it's going to paint a wildly different story. So we're going to expose the other data in 3, 2, 1, boom. Nope. 3, 2, 1, boom. Nope, that's not it either.
A few moments later.
3, 2, 1, boom. And there's a few years, right? We go all the way up to 2024. And of course, we're not done with 2024 just yet, but the data is still relatively important. You can see we've got all of the years, the days that the iPhones were released, and the models as well, all the way up to the 16, which was recently released, and their price, right? So the price has changed a little bit over time, likely due to manufacturing changing a little bit, becoming more efficient. They can manufacture cheaper and so on. And we also have the annual returns, right, which fluctuate quite a bit over the years. In 2019, it was 30%. In 2020, right, did pretty well as well. With COVID going on and all of that stuff, the stocks were actually doing relatively. They were performing relatively good. 2021 is when we got really high as well. So these kind of annual returns are really consistent for the S&P 500. But the important thing to note, if you haven't looked there already, is the investment balance, right? So in the beginning, like I said, we started off with zero because we opted to buy the iPhone X. But every single year after that, instead of using that money, $1,000 in 2018, $700 in 2019, $800 in 2020. Instead of using that money to, save up for the newest iPhone for that year, we took it and we just put it into the S&P 500 and just left it there, right? No trading, no day trading, no shorting, anything like that. Just leaving it as a solid, consistent investment. At the end of this year, or actually right now, because we're not done with 2024 yet. At this point in time, that portfolio would have over $10,000 in value, right? Just from iPhones, right? This doesn't include anything else, any extra money that you wanted to put in, any extra money that you might have from opting out of purchasing, the new versions of shoes or the new version of a shirt or a hoodie, I don't know, right? Everybody has different expenses, some dumber than others. I will say that. But this is the balance that you would have just from using the same iPhone as I have, right? And, this isn't exactly my situation, right? I didn't start investing until around 2020, but the point still remains that if you choose to use things for the long run, right? And I don't personally have any issues with this iPhone. I can call, I can make FaceTime calls, I can do payments, I can go on YouTube, get texts from, friends and so on. I don't get many of them, to be honest, but that option is still there if I need it. So you can clearly see here that using things for the long run, using equipment, tech, gear that, will not really disappear within, a year of using it like a pair of shoes might, right? You can generate quite a bit of income, right? And if you consider this is a span of about, I don't know, 8 years or, whatever it is, 6 years. If you would continue this trend, right, for a very long period of time, imagine the money that you could have just from not needing to buy the newest iPhone and keep up with trends and a camera that's slightly better but barely noticeable and stuff like that. So, like I said, I hope this was a good example to illustrate why it's so important to use things. Try to use things for the long run. So there you go. Those are my quick thoughts on why purchasing the newest iPhones as they come out might not be the best option for you, and how that money could be better spent elsewhere, right? Better invested elsewhere to better your financial future. As always, if you've stuck along this far in the video, I want to thank you so much for your time today. And as always, happy financing.